It's MFL MarMac Coach Conversation brought to you by Birdnow Chevrolet, Meyer Auto Service, and Havlicek Trucking. Head coach Dan Anderson joining us. Last week, Cascade came to town and beat the Bulldogs 46 to 26. Looking at the stat sheet, Dan, looked like their passing attack must have been everything as advertised. Fair statement.
It was. That we knew that Hoffman kid was the top passer in Class 1A, and he sure looked like it on Friday night. I think he threw for 300 yards and five or six touchdowns. So, our offense played pretty well, though. I mean, we were able to move the ball and do what we wanted to do, and it was kind of a shootout back and forth. It's just we had a few turnovers, and pretty much each team, when they had the ball, they were scoring. And so, they didn't have quite as many mistakes as we did, but I was pleased with our offensive effort. But defense got to shore some things up.
And on the offensive end, you mentioned 366 yards on the ground and over 400 yards of total offense. Not bad when you can put three guys over the century mark when it comes to yardage running the football. What seemingly that's been a pretty consistent part of your game as of late. What has allowed your offense, especially your run game, to keep improving as the season has gone on?
Well, one thing is just our offensive line. It takes a while for them to gel. We've got some young guys out there. We've got a freshman and two sophomores starting in the offensive line. And so we only got one senior out there. And so, it takes a little while for those guys all to gel together, but they're coming together. They're maintaining their blocks and making the right calls out there and their communication. We always talk, communicate on the offensive line. And so those guys up front are doing a really nice job. And I think, yeah, I've been coaching here a long time, and we've had some outstanding rushing attacks over the years, but I don't know if we've ever had three guys go over 100 yards in the same game. We've had a lot of games where we've had two guys go over 100, but we had three different guys. Our fullback, our running back, and our wingback all went for over 100 yards, and I think our wingback averaged 11.5 yards a carry, and the other two guys were between 5 and 6 yards a carry. So very pleased with that effort. The backs, they're hitting the hole. They know where the cutback is, and also a big part of that goes to Coach Burke, my offensive coordinator, who he dissects the defense, and we're always looking to see what teams are trying to stop, and we've always got an answer for it. We feel like as long as our guys are communicating with us on the sidelines and telling us here's how they're lining up and here's what they're trying to do, we can make adjustments. And yeah, our running game was really clicking on Friday.
And that sets up this week. You guys have an opportunity to play a ninth game. Is it an easy message this week? Basically saying, "Hey, guys, the playoffs start tonight."
Yeah, we actually said that in practice last night. Pretty much word for word. We said, "Hey, our playoffs are starting now." I mean, week 8 is playoffs for us because both us and Northeast Goose Lake, who were playing Friday night, are in the same boat. The winner is going to get the 4 seed in the playoffs, and the loser turns in their gear on Monday. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to play for this week for both teams. So I anticipate there being, we're going to go down there and give a great effort, and I'm sure that their kids will too.
And when you look at the season you've had your struggles when it comes to injuries. If it wasn't for bad luck, you wouldn't have had any luck at all this year. But what would it mean for this team sticking together and getting an opportunity to play a ninth game with the performance, with a good performance on Friday night?
Well, it just gives another week for these young kids who are going to be back to get more experience. And, we've never, 26 years of coaching, I've never had so many freshmen and sophomores having to contribute on the varsity level. And I'm very proud of them. They're doing an excellent job. I mean, you can't expect a freshman to always dominate out there, but they're asking questions, they're giving their best effort, and it's only going to make us better for the future. So yeah, I mean, that means that, we get another game. These seniors get another chance to practice with their friends and make memories with their buddies. These underclassmen, it's a week to practice and get better at technique and just understand the game. I mean, we've noticed that as coaches that football IQ, you acquire that by experience. There's no substitute for experience. And we've got some guys that just don't have a lot of games under their belt, and their understanding of the game is still coming along. I mean, it's a complicated game, and it takes a little while to figure it out. And we encourage our kids to watch football on Saturdays and on Sundays to learn the game. And maybe not always try to emulate what they're seeing in college football and spiking the ball and, the way they're trying to dress and things like that. But just to learn the game of football and understand the game. And we've got some smart kids that understand the game, but we have a lot of young kids that are still learning the game of football. And it would be very important for us to get another week, just to spend another week with those kids and bond with those kids and finish the season on the right note.
And when you look at where your season has gone and where you're at this point through these 8 weeks of the season, so many of us just focus on the results, especially us media people. You have the context of seeing these kids day in and day out. How much growth have you seen from your team independent of the results?
Oh, we've seen a lot of growth. Just like we talked about before, the understanding of the game, their technique is much better. Really the offensive line is just amazing. Their line calls and even, when they're young, you're just trying to get lined up, right? And now they're making all the right calls, the adjustments. We call them smart splits. If we're trying to run a certain play, maybe they adjust their split a little bit. They've got calls, colors and offensive line, those guys have their own language. It's like you're speaking a different language, a foreign language out there. They make calls out there on the field, and the other team has no clue what they mean. Sometimes I don't even know what they mean because these guys make calls up on their own. Some funny words. I just say as long as it's not anything that's going to get you, a penalty, guys. But they have their own language out there. It's kind of fun to listen to them talk, and I always encourage them, even if they make a call, whether it really means something or not. It could be a dummy call too. And so those offensive linemen are gelling. They're having fun. They trust each other. I think there's a lot more trust on the team right now than there was maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, by everybody, by the coaches with the players and the players with the coaches, and so it means a lot to get another week of football, and we've really seen a lot of growth throughout the last, especially 4 weeks.
What are you expecting out of Northeast come Friday night?
They throw the ball a lot, just like Cascade and just like Comanche. So we knew at the end of the season, the last three teams were going to be really pass heavy teams. They got two kids that played quarterback, and they're both good athletes. One of them was kind of dinged up and missed a game or two. The other one came in and he was just as good. It looked like on film. He was a starting receiver that moved to quarterback, but then that kid got banged up in last week's game against Beckman. So they put the original quarterback back in there. So, we don't know who we're going to get at the quarterback, but they've got two really good athletes. They've got a really good tight end who's about 6'3", probably 215. It's really athletic, good on offense and defense. They want to get him the ball. He'll go up and catch it. So they've got some pretty good size offensive linemen up front too. The kids trust our system. They know that we can move the ball. We feel pretty confident we can move the ball on these guys. I was very pleased with Easton Lang last Friday night too. Our quarterback as a freshman, he made huge strides from the week before. He threw the ball a lot better. We didn't ask much of him week one. Last week he threw it a few more times, and he threw some really nice balls. Our receivers got to help him out a little bit because there's a couple of them that hit our receivers in the hands. They got dropped. Otherwise, I believe he would have been, and I think there was a couple touchdowns that got dropped. So we got to help our freshman quarterback out because he was doing a nice job leading. So there's a lot of growth there too, Darren, and I'm proud of the kids. And the future's bright for MFL MarMac football, that's for sure. It's just we hope to get into the playoffs here so we can get another week or two out of these guys.
All right. Hopefully that's exactly what happens come Friday night, Coach. And let's have another conversation next week. Keep your kids healthy. We wish best of luck.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Dan Anderson, head coach of the MFL MarMac Bulldogs, brought to you by Birdnow Chevrolet, Havlicek Trucking, and Meyer Auto Service.